All right, Coach, we back. We back, Coach.
We back, man. We're just trying to get this thing going back up slowly. Starting this spring practice.
Oh man, we got them in here already, Coach. They already talking noise. Let me see what Andrew Crook says. He says, Rocky, I'm on three, and your adopted team is bragging on hard commits. Again, looks like top three recruiting class. He's talking about those Colorado Buffaloes, headed by none other than the legend himself, Deion Sanders.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, Coach.
Hey, like I told anybody, I think he's gonna compete this year. Hey, if I'm a betting man, I'm gonna bet that he get to some type of playoff this year.
Absolutely, Coach. Everybody, you're tuned into the HBCU Coaches Corner. I am your co-host, Rocky Miller, and I'm with the SWAC legend himself, Johnnie Cole. How you doing,
What's
Coach?
up? Man, I'm good, Coach. Man, proud to be back on. I know we took a break, and people was kind of wearing me out, saying, "Man, we missed that content. We missed that smile. We missed you and Rocky getting after it." So, we like we said, we started slow. We got a lot of things that we're gonna talk about tonight. We also gonna talk about where we're gonna be in a couple weeks, and we got a guest tomorrow. We'll definitely show that. Now, I'll turn all that over to you.
All right, Coach. Yeah, Coach, we have the GCAC commissioner. We have an interview scheduled tomorrow. We haven't decided whether or not we're going to do it recorded or live. Pending our schedules, we'll let you know whether or not it's going to be recorded or we'll do it live. But we have the GCAC commissioner, Kiki Baker Barnes. I suggest you guys go out and do your research on her. She's a very impressive commissioner, and we can't wait to interview her tomorrow. But with no further ado,
go ahead.
We have no FAMU news in the pipeline.
No.
However, we brought back our very special guest, the HBCU arbiter of truth himself, none other than Bishop Campbell. How you doing there, Bishop Campbell?
Coach, Rocky, like I say, you got to have the three musketeers here. So the good thing is FAMU is not so much in the news today. You know what I mean? So we can get down and just talk about some college football, HBCU football, talk a little basketball, I can talk about I went out to Vegas to see New Edition, you know what I'm saying, for all of my Gen X folks out there.
Oh, man.
Had a good time. Y'all didn't know I was a 7th member of New Edition. So, had to give them a little something out there and stuff like that. So, yeah, man, I'm happy to be here. And once again, we're going to, give folks a good show tonight.
Yeah, definitely, man. We kind of missed out, man. My phone been ringing and people, man, where y'all at? Where y'all at? I said, we coming. I took one out of Deion's book. We coming. So in this year, we're going to put it on the road sometimes, and we're going to start out by, go ahead and tell them, Rocky, where we're going to start out at.
So I'll tell you what, we made big plans already. We're going to do the first HBCU Coaches Corner on the road, and we will be in the great state of Alabama, in the wonderful city of Montgomery, living lavish on the campus of Alabama State University during the spring game. We're going to go out there and have a visit. We're going to do a live show, and we're going to report back what we see. We're going to get a lot of good footage. And like I say, we're going to take in the wonderful, luxurious, palatial city of Montgomery, Alabama.
One thing about it, too, they got one of the top quarterbacks coming out of the SWAC in Andrew Body. And so we'll get a chance to see him in the spring game, get a chance to talk to Coach Eddie Robinson, Coach James Williams, and get to see this beautiful city of Montgomery. And one thing about Alabama State that people probably don't know, they got I'm going to say it, they got the best football facility in 1AA football. 1AA football. Locker room, beautiful, sweet boxes. sits right there off the highway, Rocky, and man, where you can actually be in the game and see the highway, and man, it's just a beautiful facility, and and a beautiful campus.
I can't wait to this will be my first time in Montgomery, Alabama when I make it there on I think I will arrive on the 5th, and we will be there through 6 and pending what nighttime activity we can figure out after the game. But again, that's just a brief synopsis of our itinerary. But I would like to depend on the HBCU historian I know he's been to Montgomery. And what can I expect when I go to Montgomery, Alabama, also known as the Gump? I know what I won't do. I will not be getting on any ferry rides. I will not be doing that.
Not going to do the ferry rides? How about that? They got VIP for us down there. Now, Montgomery, listen, I see Mama Body. I got my Andrew Body sweatshirt on. This was supposed to be saying Andrew Body FAMU, but they had to change the word Andrew Body to Alabama State. But I wore that because I knew we were going to talk about that. Now, Montgomery is a very historical city for civil rights. A very historical city. It is a lot of beautiful Black people down there, and they got some of the best soul food in the South. So there's a couple of places that we might be able to hit.
We definitely gonna get over there. I still got a home there. I own a home there in Alabama. And lived there for 4 years, and it's a beautiful place. The people there are beautiful. Can't say enough about the fan base, man. The fan base is they show up and show out, and like you said, it's a city of a lot of history. Maybe when we get some time, we can go down to the bridge right there in Selma. We can go over there to the Rosa Parks Museum, where they actually serve soul food. There's another historical part over there. So, man, we gonna get around. Then I got a friend named Reggie Miller. He owns the number one cigar bar in the city, and we also have a time that we're gonna set up and maybe do part of the show over there, maybe the after or the before.
Hey man,
that sounds good.
Hey, Coach, I'm excited. I'm excited for 2 reasons. One, I'm excited to be on another HBCU campus for sure. But I must say, I'm also excited to see Andrew Body in that Alabama State uniform and see what the Alabama State team looks like. Get a kind of like a sneak peek before the season, because this is something that I've thought long and hard about. This. Considering everything that has happened in the SWAC in a very tumultuous offseason where a lot of leadership has changed in the SWAC. When you really sit down and think about what to expect this upcoming season, I really see Alabama State as the favorite going into this SWAC season. Under normal circumstances, considering what FAMU has returning, I would say, well, maybe it's FAMU. But considering all of the turnover that they've had in key positions on their coaching staff, I have to then look at the consistency that they've had at Alabama State, along with the addition of the dynamic quarterback, Andrew Body. I have to say that Alabama State right now has the edge going into fall camp. If there's no injuries or anything like that, everything stays packed coming out of spring camp, I expect those guys to be the favorite. What do you guys think about that?
Well, they still got D.D. Davis over there as well. They full of athletes. One of the biggest problems they had last year was scoring, especially down in the red zone. And I think Coach Robinson, had to make some choices. And I think they were good choices. That he changed over offensive coordinator and really revamped the whole offensive staff. And, my little birdies, fly and let me know, Bishop, they're going to be running the ball a little bit. And, of course, we're going to be able to come down and see that. And I always tell them great defense and run game. Hey man, that's championship. And so I'm excited about them. I'm excited about seeing Body in a different uniform and being taught by a different coach. And I'm excited. You know, his family is excited, and I know the kid. You know, it's kind of like a redemption for him. You know, he's been the guy, but as you know, Rocky and Mr. Campbell, a quarterback is judged off of wins and losses, and he don't have many at all. You know, so it's like the girl the beautiful girl that you thought you took home, and by the time when y'all get on, she don't took her leg off, don't took a wig off, she ain't got no fingers. You be like, man, what? So I'm excited about coming in this season, man, and looking at him do his thing.
Well, you know what they say: to beat the champ, you got to beat the champ. So Florida A&M is still the HBCU national champ. And I'm going to tell you something. I like Andrew at Alabama State. I think that's going to be exciting. But I want to say something about the two teams that's going to be fighting with them. Jackson State is returning their quarterback. So that guy is going to be there. They got something to say. And you got to understand something. Depending on either junior or our transfer quarterback who played at a group of 5 and started, okay, who started at a group of 5 level. So we're not going to be short on quarterbacks. And like I said, I think our defense is going to be stout. So like I said, man, you know what's so exciting about this? This is the time we get to talk about this. This is the time that everybody has not lost a game. Everybody's thinking they're going to be SWAC champions. But there's only going to be one SWAC champion. But, you know, that'll be down in Tallahassee, Florida once again. So we already know that. We already know that. See, Coach even had to cut off because he knew I was telling the truth. So he already knew it.
well, you know, again, considering everything that happened over at FAMU, I have to ask you this question. What are your prospects about this upcoming season, considering everything that's happened? Everything is kind of settled in now. You guys are probably, 2 months with your new head coach after having what I would consider considerable amount of turmoil, considering you guys were coming off a national championship, right? Things have kind of probably settled in. And what is your expectations coming in for the next season?
Well, that's the great thing about it. I think that's why Coach Cozy is the person for a job. He settled the ship. Most of the players are still there. We got a couple of guys, which are grad, players that want to see their option. And that's any school. You know what I mean? But you got to understand something. If you got 3 or 4 kids out of almost 100 up and down the lineup that are still there. So we got a good core. We got an excellent core of players that know what it is to be a champion. I think this team is excited because, also, too, they want to prove that they can win this championship. So that's another thing, too. They got a chip on their shoulder because everybody's saying Coach Simmons is gone and it took so long to get a coach. But these players want to win a championship. So that gives them an additional motivation. So like I said, again, I'm excited. Again, we play Alabama State on their homecoming. That's going to be a big game. That is going to be a big game. So that's going to be super exciting. And this is what I love about the SWAC when we've added these teams. Like I say, FAMU is here now. Again, Alabama State, Jackson State, Southern, Grambling, those name brand teams are all looking forward to having a great season. So I'm super excited. Alcorn, like I say, could be coming out. So I am super, super excited. But no, I think FAMU is not going to sit up there and be worried about who's the quarterback on the other teams. I think FAMU is going to be FAMU. And that's what's going to have to happen. They're going to play great defense, and I think our offense is going to be dynamite, to be honest with you. Because I think our quarterback room is going to be really dynamic.
So are you expecting similar outcomes as the previous season?
Yeah, listen, I'm going to tell you something. Again, we don't lose and brag. So we got 2 road games. We got to go to Alabama State, and we got to go to Jackson State for the vet. That's going to determine the season. And again, we have a quarterback that played a group of 5 that started, that has extensive starting experience. So we're not having a quarterback that, has never been behind center. So I think people are really underestimating that. And, so like I said, we'll see. Our spring game is 1 week right after Alabama State. So, I'll be, I don't think I'm going to make it. I got a work commitment, but I think what I'm going to do is, definitely be watching from where I'm at. And then we'll see what happens. But no, I think FAMU's in good shape because, again, we brought in a lot of kids. And I'll tell you another thing, too. I think FAMU is going to bring in some additional kids, after all these spring practices in. I think we got a whole another wave of kids that's coming.
Well, here, and they play Alabama State in game what now? 2, 3
No, we play Alabama State. I
down
want
in
to say sometime in mid-September. So that's got to be the 5th, 6th game at least.
The
5th,
fifth game.
6th.
It'll be the fifth.
That's
It'll
gonna
be the
like
fifth
the
game
fourth.
for. It'll be the 5th game for Alabama State, I believe.
Okay, and what?
So, and remember, we're playing in the MEAC SWAC Challenge.
Now, always look at this as well. You know, you got a new coach. No matter what, it all depends on him.
Yeah.
If he's coming in there and he's trying to clean the ship and wrong all the stuff he's seen and right all the stuff that he's seen was wrong and make a change, you can see a different type. And usually a team start getting better that second game. You'll see who Florida A&M when they play the second football game there.
And we play South Carolina State in Tallahassee on Labor Day weekend.
That's gonna be a good show there, because coach at South Carolina State, man, he getting them ready now. They ain't gonna be the South Carolina State of old, so that should be a really good football game.
Hey, Coach.
Maybe we might need to make that one.
Hey, Coach Cole, I have a question for you. Can you remember in your Rolodex of memories a situation where a HBCU team, won a national championship and had as much turnover at the leadership as FAMU? We're talking about the head coach, we're talking about the play caller, and we're also talking about the defensive coordinator. Can you remember a championship team that had that much turnover the next year after a championship? And can you remember what their outcome was, if they did have that, if you remember somebody with that championship?
I think North Carolina A&T, when Broadway retired and Sam Washington took over. And, they had a great showing against Alcorn State that year. And then after that year, they end up coming back, back-to-back national champions. Anything that's later than that, you really hadn't seen. Nobody end up winning it back-to-back. Alcorn, when coach was there, he had a good team, but when Fred took over, it kind of fell off a little bit. So it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough on Florida A&M.
So you're saying North Carolina A&T had a situation where a coach took over after a championship season, and you say he went to the championship back-to-back years?
Yes, he did.
With the new head coach?
And he won the national title.
Okay, all right.
Sam Washington.
So I mean, that's good.
It's doable. It's doable.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially, I think the edge that Florida A&M has in this particular situation is, in my opinion, they still, regardless of the coaching situation, they have the best collection of talent, in my opinion, in the SWAC, hands down. And so, I'm looking forward to see what the outcome is going to be.
No, I think that, again, what Coach just said about North Carolina A&T, again, they had a system, and also that was a team-led team. The players were bought in. They knew the system. They wanted Sam Washington to be the coach. Again, they were really, really deep. So, again, I think with Coach Cozy, he's been there. The players wanted him. I think they're really excited to play for him. So, again, I think this is just going to be one of those ones. Again, the game, FAMU's going to have to win this on the road. Like I said, that game in Jackson is going to be a big game. That game in Alabama State is going to be a big game. And both of those teams are ready to be gunning for them. So, absolutely.
Now, Coach Campbell, you can share this with us in our support out there, because the picking a new coach went through so much turmoil and took so much time. Again, we hearing different things, and you can correct us, that you guys kind of lost some guys that was transferring there and decided to go somewhere else, and some of the guys didn't like what's going on and left. You know, maybe he filled the bucket up with better players, but they had some discrepancy going on there.
Well, the high-end guys, you know, you had the kid from Clemson. He went to Virginia, Michigan State. But overall, we didn't lose a bunch of guys. We didn't.
Okay.
We didn't have a mass exit of 20, 30 players in the portal. Because even now, and these guys are still practicing, they're looking at their options. General Hunt, the DN, Thomas that came from LSU, the offensive lineman. Again, they're looking at their options. But they're still working out. They're still practicing. We'll see what happens. So, but overall, we didn't lose a bunch of players.
Gotcha.
So
I'm sorry. Who is now I'm gonna say this, Cam. When I stayed with Rocky, I told Rocky all season I wasn't impressed with Florida A&M's run. They beat everybody. Don't get me wrong, they beat everybody. But it was times, you know, it's almost, and I don't want to say this, that the league couldn't overcome when Florida A&M played is worse. They beat teams when they played they worse. And a lot of that, we all can agree, was because of Coach Simmons. And of course, then the talent to me. I thought Coach Simmons done some things and made those kids play. I don't know. You know, we don't know. I don't know if the league has gotten better with recruiting or not, but they can't play the same way that they played at times. They seem like they played down at those teams' level.
Yeah, I can agree with that. But I mean, but you know what, though? We hear this all the time. There are very few teams, and especially, Coach, you notice in college, that is going to be consistent through 11, 12 game, 13 game season. You're going to have your ups and downs. You're going to play up and down. I've seen the University of Miami when they won their last national championship. They've had some games that they were right there. Boston College, I'll never forget it. With great play that Ed Reed did. That game was like 18-17 with all that talent. So you see this happen in college football. But again, what the key is did the other teams get any better? Like you said, did they get any better? Right. Because the bottom line is they also had all these other teams had multiple losses. It wasn't like how Jackson State and FAMU were a couple of years. Well, we only had one loss and Jackson State ran the table. Everybody else had 2, 3, 4 losses.
Well, look here. Let's not forget now the Sonny Boone up there in Jackson, Mississippi now. They were right there. I heard they made some good choices on some good recruits and got some good transfers in. And, you know, you can't count J State out now.
No, listen, but Coach, what did I say? I said we got a 2-game schedule. I'm telling you, Jackson State is going to be sitting there waiting for that game. And especially if everything plays out the way we think it's going to be playing, we should be undefeated in the SWAC coming in that game. And hey, listen, man, it's going to be 40,000 people in that stadium. 100%. 100%.
What y'all think about Prairie View A&M? I mean, they went to the championship.
And I think they'll go right back. I think, Coach, I don't think the West has gotten any better. I think Prairie View is still the class of the West. I think Grambling with a new coach, I think they're going to have to. And Southern, has Southern recruited anybody this year? Have they got any players?
They counting on their coaching staff with Coach Fred McNair. Yeah. I think he's the tight end coach.
Yeah.
Well, I believe Southern is counting on the fact, and this may be a mistake, that they believe that their failures rest solely on who their head coach was, right? They think that's what led them to the outcomes they received, because they haven't tooled up. They didn't tool up their coaching staff, in my opinion. They both coordinators were already on staff, correct?
I don't even know. Have Southern announced a coordinator?
Yeah, they announced. Yeah,
they did.
Yeah,
they look. We'll have to pull that up, Coach. We'll have to pull that up.
Okay, I'll pull it up while I'm talking, because I didn't see that.
They announced the coaches. I want to say Totten, but I may be wrong.
Well, well, look here, I'm about to have to go spank Totten, because he's supposed to call his boy and let him know that he the trigger caller.
And
I'm
again,
gonna text him while we talking.
Again, Southern is depending on the loss of Eric Dooley to improve their fortunes. However, Eric Dooley may end up being the trigger man at Grambling. So what does that do? Huh?
He is officially the trigger man at Grambling.
He's calling the plays at Grambling. So what does that do for and with Eric Dooley at Grambling and him being popular with the coach, with the players, how many of those guys do you think they'll lose at Southern? Because he wasn't announced till after the transfer portal was closed. It'll open again after the spring ball. Do you think Southern will lose any more players that may travel up to Grambling?
One thing about it, guys, that we could say, and we're gonna be getting our resources all year. It's a lot of. You started off, Cam. Coach. It's a lot of not just changes, but a lot of turmoil, a lot of repeat guys jumping from here to here, and the production ain't going with the changes. Does that make sense, Rocky?
Absolutely. I think
it's like we diving down and not moving up.
Well, what you're saying is something that I think a lot of the fans have said, when they heard that Dooley was on the campus at Grambling. Based on Southern's production on offense, why would you hire this past 2 years, his production at Southern, why would you hire this guy as your offensive coordinator at Grambling? Can you justify that hire considering what Coach Dooley did as the play caller at Southern University and head coach and play caller at Southern University? What warrants him being given this opportunity? Maybe Bishop Campbell can explain this. What warranted Coach Dooley being given an opportunity to be the offensive coordinator at Grambling, considering the production of the Southern offense while he was the head coach and play caller? How do you justify that? Or how does it make sense to you?
Well, can you guys hear me clearly? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my headset died. I apologize for that. Here's the thing. Who else was he going to choose at that later date? That knew Grambling, that knew the lay of the land, that was very popular. So I think sometimes situation dictates who the coaches are that are selected. Because see, once again, when we get to this, why didn't he get to this guy? Why didn't he get this guy? The question, who would be the other guys that he could have selected as offensive coordinator? They had the same pedigree. They had the same knowledge of Grambling. Because I'm going to tell you one thing about, and I tell people this, I love Grambling. I've been down at X81. But to go to Grambling, you got to love Grambling. And you got to understand all the things that come with Grambling. It is in the middle of nowhere. The facilities are not the best in the SWAC, but that G means something. And when you coach down there at Grambling, you're coaching because you want to coach Grambling. So again, if you got other coaches that are looking at options and things like that, maybe they want to coach at Jackson State instead of Grambling. Maybe they want to coach at Southern instead of Grambling. Maybe they want to coach at Florida A&M. So the people at Grambling want to be at Grambling. And I think that has a lot to do with it. So dude wants to be at Grambling. He loves Grambling. Grambling's good to him. So I think that has a lot to do with it.
So you're saying it's a good hire? Is that what you're saying? Because when I look at the stats now, not only did he not produce at Southern offensively, he didn't reduce at Prairie View at the end before he went to Grambling. We seen him play Jackson State twice in the SWAC championship, right? And
correct.
It was god awful. Let's just tell it like it is. It was god awful. You had Dion had a plane waiting on him. He had 1 foot on the sideline and 1 foot in a car ready to get to the airport because he knew they had won that game. Did they pass the 50-yard line when he was at Prairie View?
Now, Coach, I believe they did pass the 50 line in that game. I believe so. I was at that game. Yes, they did.
It was god awful. So we'll see though. Everybody start from zero. Everybody start from zero, and and we'll go from there. Now, my understanding of talking with Coach Joseph is they're gonna run a segment of LSU's offense. So I don't know exactly what LSU offense. All I know is they got 5 wide receivers in the NFL. So I guess they're gonna be chunking it a little bit.
Well, I want to push back on Mr. Campbell's assessment a bit. To be perfectly honest with you, the coordinator who was still on staff at the time that the previous coach Jackson was relieved was more productive than Dooley was in the SWAC last year.
No, I never. Wait a minute. I never said that he was productive. I said, who were they going to get?
Well, what I'm saying is they could have held on to. I forget the guy's name. You know, Tony something. Was it Tony something? I can't think of the guy's name. Was the Gremlin offensive coordinator? But he was pretty productive, and he stayed on staff for a while, even after Mickey was hired. To be honest with you. So anyway,
I think that always. But then I guess, and Coach would know better than this. Sometimes you want to have your guy. Sometimes you want to start fresh. Sometimes you want to have your guy. Now, why did the coach stay? Why didn't Coach Joseph say, hey, we want to keep you on? I don't know. Maybe, again, it goes back to what Coach said. Maybe he's not running the offense that Coach Joseph wants.
Right.
And maybe when he talked to Coach Dooley, interviewed him and said, hey, this is what my philosophy is. This is what I want to do. And Coach Dooley said, yeah, we can run that. I can call those plays. But again, let me tell you something. This goes back, again, I was down at Grambling during those championship runs. You got to understand something. Devontae Kincaid can make any offensive coordinator look good. Okay? And and I'm going to say this again, and I'm going to keep saying this. I've been around the SWAC almost 50 years. Quarterbacks win championships in the SWAC. You show me a good quarterback, I'll show you a SWAC champion. So this is just some quarterbacks struggled. They struggled. You put Devontae Kincaid on that team, they're not going to struggle. So the question is, who is Grambling's quarterback? Is he going to be somebody that's going to be able to make plays? So again, we talked about the teams in the East. Jackson State has their quarterback that can make plays. Alabama State believes Andrew Bonnie can stay healthy and make plays. FAMU believes the kid from FAU or junior can make plays. So that's the thing about it. Do you have a quarterback that can initiate your offense and make plays? That has always been like that in the SWAC. You got a bad quarterback, because see what happens with a bad quarterback in the SWAC, all the other stuff styles compounded, right? You start seeing how good the offensive line is not, the running backs and things like that. A good quarterback covers up a lot of that in the SWAC.
Well, I think what you're saying is half true. Musa, most quarterbacks, like you just said, to take their team, they're gonna throw for $3,000. Musa didn't even throw for that, and his interception to touchdown ratio was horrible. So that kind of shoots that down a little bit, but you are.
But Musa was the best quarterback in the SWAC. Wait a minute, Coach. Wait. You acting like the SWAC had a bunch of great quarterbacks.
That's what you're saying.
So he was. Wait a minute, Coach. Hold on. Wait a minute. My segment still stands.
Okay.
The SWAC. Let's be honest. The SWAC did not have a bunch of great quarterbacks. They didn't. So while Musa might not have been to the level what you want to see with a previous quarterback that we can start naming in the SWAC history, but again, was he the best in the conference? He clearly was. He was the best in the conference, and you can't take that away from him.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna say. Because I would ask you, tell me what other quarterback was better than Musa.
If the best is the worst, I get it. I get it.
I don't.
Get it. I can't argue that point.
I don't think we can argue that Musa was the best quarterback or most effective quarterback in the SWAC.
Yeah.
Right. We can't argue that based on any measurement. When you want to talk about passing touchdowns, you want to talk about yardage, you want to talk about team performance. However you measure quarterback play, and you said, and this is by your management, quarterbacks are judged on what, Coach?
Win it. And
by that measure, how was Musa?
Musa, he won football games. I
think Musa lost one game while being quarterback at Jackson State. I mean, at FAMU.
Yeah. We had one conference game. Yeah, one conference game.
Yeah, one conference game.
One conference game.
One conference game.
Ain't no question. Ain't no question. I thought that Coach Simmons did a good job of putting Moose in situations, but we all can agree. And I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it because I was a former head football coach in the conference and everything, but I gotta say it. They can't do nothing to me no more. That just showed the strength of our conference. It showed the strength of our conference. You know, that a kid can play real bad and still come out and win the football game. But you know, their defense was great as well. Their defense was great as well. So I think they had a great team. You know, I'm gonna give Musa that year the best quarterback in the league because he wasn't nobody else. But of course, you know, Bishop and Rocky, you learning. Woo, them other guys that came through here, it ain't even close. It ain't even close. We can't even, if Moose even say I'm in the top 10, we go upside his head. Right
well, Coach, I think in defense of Moose, I think, and that's why I think him and Coach Simmons were great together. He did what Coach Simmons needed him to do. He did exactly what Coach Simmons needed him to do. And I think in the end, he's a national champion. So I can't take away anything from that because, again, this is what I go back to say. We had other quarterbacks in SWAC. When they played FAMU and competed against them, they couldn't beat them. And you got to think about the only person that did beat them is a potential top 5 pick, Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
Think about that for a second.
Yeah.
So no matter what anybody else says, you have a quarterback on your team. Your quarterback was opposite of this quarterback. Your quarterback did not outperform him. He didn't. And I can look at game after game after game. So again, I don't want to just belabor this point because again, Moose has graduated. Moose is going to do great things in his life. But I think, and this is a challenge to everybody. What is your quarterback? So what is your quarterback going to do? Moose is not there anymore. To your point, Coach, right? So it's wide open. It's wide open. So again, is Jackson State quarterback going to make the next step? Is Alabama State quarterback going to make the next step? Well, so that's going to be the question in the East. Is Southern going to figure out who their quarterback is?
Let's look at the quarterbacks. Alabama State has potential to have a different quarterback in hand. Texas Southern would have the same quarterback. Pine Bluff, I think, will have a different one. Grambling will have a different one. I think Southern University is going to go back. Does that guy have 1 year, the one who started in Bethune Bayou Classic? We have to look and see. A&M will have a new quarterback. You know what I mean? Alcorn, they will have a new quarterback. So it's gonna be a wide open field of guys of being in that spot and trying to move their team to the championship.
Well, I will say this about Jackson State's quarterback, Jacobian Morgan. If you just take a snapshot of what, the couple games he played, right? 2 or 3 games he played and how he performed, right? Had he played 12 games, right? He would have passed for over 3,000 yards, had about 700 yards rushing. That would have been enough to win possibly a SWAC championship or even the MVP as well. So if he stays on pace, if he continues to perform at that level, then he should, he could.
But Rodney, he started against Alabama State. They lost. He started against Alcorn and they lost.
But that's not the point.
The point of he played those games. It's not like he did not play. He actually played.
He was also a freshman, correct?
No, he came from Syracuse.
Oh, okay.
All right, let me give y'all the stats. Musa finished number 1 with 2,800, almost 2,900 yards. All right, he had 22 TDs to 10 interceptions. Next in line was Myers Crawley from Grambling. Then we had Aaron Allen from Alcorn, Quincy Casey from A&M, Jason Brown from Jackson State, Southern's Harold Blood, but we know Blood is the reason why they had to get rid of Dooley, and Trezon Conley from Prairie View, and of course Jace Wilson from Texas Southern.
Well,
I mean,
what I'm-
we're looking at not a real good efficiency level. Musa had 137 percentage. That's not real good at all. You know,
Well,
he averaged 2,400 a game, but that's not real good at all.
I'm looking at Jacoby and Morgan. He went 83. He went 83 for 123. He had a 67.5% completion percentage.
Right.
He passed for 847 yards. He threw 10 touchdowns and 1 interception. When you look at that kind of production and you extrapolate that over an entire season, right? I don't know exactly how much the kid played, but if you extrapolate that over the entire season, that's a dominant quarterback performance. If you extrapolate that over the entire season.
And that's with North Carolina, North Carolina Central.
What is that?
I'm looking at Musa's percentage. He completed 57% of his passes.
Oh, yeah.
And he wasn't close to being one of the top. Yeah, one at 60.2, 63.8, 63.6. So number-wise, he could improve. But like as you say, at the end of the day, Mr. Campbell, don't be so upset. He won a national championship. So you can't take that away from him.
All right, guys, let's go. Let's get into our headline topic of the evening.
Okay.
That's what the people came in here for, our headline topic.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to discuss. Let me bring up the article.
Can I like to say something before we get going?
Go ahead.
I'm trying to charge up my battery. I'm sorry, I don't have my team here with me.
No problem.
Anyway, I wanted to say this. This is really the reason, Rocky, before we even met, and of course I've talked to you about it a long time ago, was the reason why I started this podcast stuff about trying to promote our coaches and reason why that we can't move on. Not only can we not move on of the swag and move out of the swag, we as Black coaches can't even move in the next level. I never really got into the pro part of it because those guys were owned by private people and they wasn't receiving federal money or state money. But these state schools that's receiving federal money in the NCAA in college and federal funds to carry these schools, you know, we need to do something. You know, and a lot of people talk about, and what I'm talking about is the difference between our white counterparts and how they're getting these jobs. And because at the end of the day, it's about economics. How can the product of college football, 72% of African Americans that play the revenue sports. And when we look at the administrative part, not just the head coach, the assistant coach, the secretary, the trainer, the equipment, they're 84%. And that's just in the major sports in football and basketball. Then when you start talking about non-revenue sports, the percentage of Black coaches and white coaches is even lower than that. And what's happening is even in HBCU conferences, the white coaches are taking over our non-revenue sports, bowling, tennis, track. They're taking over those sports. So my question is, why do we get ahead? You know, when you look at Black schools, HBCU schools, and then you look at the staff, and when you see the white coaches on the staff, here's the position. They in all the positions that make most money. They're either an assistant head coach position, offense coordinator position, defense coordinator position, and offensive line coach. We can't even get those positions. So me being a Black college graduate, and I'm like, well, if we can't come back to our own school and be head coaches, and now MEAC and SWAC and the SC, I mean, and the SIAC and the CIAA are now reaching out and getting white coaches coming in. Two things wrong with that. One, we're not getting that opportunity to show leadership. And number two, we're not even getting the coordinator's position to be able to apply for a head job, because the first thing they're going to say is, we don't have enough experience. So we need to do something. You know, you ask the players and parents, you know, when we could change this tomorrow if every black player say, you know, so I'm going to go to an HBCU school. Now, first thing people going to say is, oh, well, the facilities is different. I guarantee you, Mr. Campbell, if all those black players leave and start playing in black schools, where the money going to go? Them facilities. Just like back in the 70s when they really started letting black players get into schools, you know what I mean? Them facilities shot sky high. They shot sky high because they had all the top players in the country. And I'm not advocating that. I know that'd be, it's no way that's going to happen. Where all these parents going to say, oh, my kid's going to black school. My thing has always been, we need to go, or in other words, to Washington. That if we're giving all these people state money, federal money, then it's got to be something done to say that, just like affirmative action. And I know we just got rid of that. Didn't we, Mr. Campbell? We just got rid of
a lot of parts of it.
How can you justify? And when we read these numbers off, Rocky, you don't read them off. It's staggering. It don't make sense. Mr. Campbell, it don't make sense, Rocky, that Nebraska, when we had Mickey Joseph on, was the first black coach in the school's history as a head coach of a football program. When you've had them greats like I Am Hip, Jarvis Redbrine, all these guys, Johnnie Rogers won the all these guys, great guys that come out of Nebraska, you don't even have a black coach, never been a coordinator, black coach, never been a coordinator. So let me get out my soapbox and turn it over. That's why I got into this, to try to promote our black. And Rocky, we have problems doing that, don't we? They don't even want to come out. And that's why we got to let people see the goodness and the greatness of people that we have that's in these positions, that they can move to the next level.
Coach,
Go ahead.
As you talk about this, Coach, this is an issue that is on all levels of college sports. I mean, college athletics.
Yes.
And
yes.
You know, we're not just talking about on the highest levels, at the D1 level. We're talking about at the
it's terrible. It's even worse, Coach, at the lower levels. and here's how they get us. And let me say this. Here's how they get. You see the outline? It says racial and gender. See, we can't get over. We as black people, we can't have our own little aisle. They ain't even fixed our aisle yet. Now we got to keep people with gender. We got to keep with women. We can't even get our aisle straight yet. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm gonna let y'all go.
No. What I was just gonna say is, I listened to a summit talking about diversity in athletic programs that happened about 2 years ago, and one of the white ADs that was on the panel was saying, he said the real issue is that there are lots of qualified coaches, but when you talk about the pipeline to like the head coach, the pipeline to like the coordinator, the pipeline to those positions, the path that is traveled, that's usually not the track. And this is his words. That's not the track that minority coaches take. So let me give you an example. Usually the track is that you're on the offensive side, you're a quarterback coach, and then you go from quarterback coach to offensive coordinator to head coach. On the defensive side, You go be defensive coordinator. You have a good defense. Become a head coach. Those positions, when you talk about defense coordinator and quarterbacks coach and OCs, they are disproportionately held by white coaches. So what that ends up happening is the pipeline to head coach is filled with a bunch of the track to being a head coach is filled with a disproportionate number of white coaches, and therefore the black coaches end up taking recruiting coordinator positions, things like that don't running backs coach, wide receiver coach, that doesn't traditionally translate to receiving a head coaching position. And I'll let Mr. Campbell, respond to that. What do you say about the AD who made that argument about the track to becoming a head coach is not usually a career track that black coaches or minority coaches take?
Well, this is where we always have this issue, right? Because here's the thing. There's only so many jobs. And let's talk about what coach is talking about. Job to prep you to be a head coach. So you have the MEAC and you have the SWAC. Let's just use that as an example. But then you got guys that are over in the Power 5 side. They're on that track. Are they going to come back and go to HBCUs? Well, we see that argument. A lot of them don't. They want to stay on that side because of the money, the prestige, and all the other things. I mean, and I heard this, and I correct me, my rallies could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there was an interview with Coach Simmons said, well, even though all he had done at FAMU, they still wanted to see the Power 5 coaching on his resume. So these are the things that we have to always fight and go against. You got to understand something, Coach. The HBCUs are old, and all the land grant schools, that is, owe $13 billion. Southern University owed $1 billion. A&T's owe like $2 billion. FAMU's owe $2 billion. Tennessee State, on and on and on, Alcorn. All these schools. So to your point, you have these great facilities. We've been underfunded, and it's just a cascade effect. So guess what? You give FAMU, Southern, and A&T $2 billion. Guess what? They can hire a whole bunch of coaches.
Let me say this, and because I want. Sometimes we ain't on the front line and we miss it. I'm saying, why would a HBCU guy hire a white guy as a head coach?
All right, let me play that.
You just said that Power 5 and they got the money and all that. When do we take responsibility for our own?
All right, well, Coach, let me ask you a question. And I'm totally agreeing, but I want to ask you a question. Should a coach hire the best coach available, or should a coach hire a black coach?
Let me say this. And I know. Only 75 or 80% of coaches, 75 and 80% of coaches are losers. So sometimes these athletic directors, they hire people they can control. They don't hire the best guy. Because you got perennial losing programs. Mississippi Valley, perennial loser. Texas Southern, perennial loser. Pine Bluff, bad. So yeah, we should hire the best coach out there. We should, but we don't. So my question would be, at least, let's start with each other. At least, because they not. You know what I mean? And I don't.
100%.
I don't blame you, because at the end of the day, with them, it ain't about them. They don't make selfish choices. They don't get involved with, I don't like him and he looked like this, and they don't make them choices like we make. They go out, they believe in winning. It's about money. It ain't about me. It's about, let's go get the best coach and let's put him on the field. Let's give me what he wants so we can do what? Win. We get more personal in choosing a coach. We could sit. I know you've seen some choices that we've made as coaches that you was like, man, well, how did that happen? But besides that, I just want to see more black coaches. You know what I mean? That's what I want to see. I want to see more black coordinators. But if we give our jobs away, how do we get the experience? Because that's the first thing they tell you. Oh, well, you ain't got enough experience. I remember I was at University of Cincinnati, right? And I came in, I'm talking to the head coach about my evaluation. He tried to hit me with, if I had to say you was the best coach, wide receiver coach, which, by the way, Coach Campbell, I coached the player of the conference of the year, a kid named Robert Tate. He said, I couldn't say that you were the best wide receiver coach. You know why he said that? Because he knew I came from a black school. I had to let him know, look, I'm a good coach. I might not be the best right now, but damn, I'm up there. You know what I mean? You're not going to say that because I didn't have the background, that you expect that I ain't the best coach. When I coached the player of the year, this kid named Robert Tate. And the thing about it, nobody knew that this coach had this kid had dyslexia. And I used to put him on the board and he would draw things wrong. And I'm like, hey, what's wrong? And then finally I had him tested and found out that was his issue. And we were able to get through that. And he went on to play pro ball and all that good stuff. But I'm just saying that we don't have room to be giving all our jobs away to white coaches. See, and then when you said that, you know what, Jar, that came and hit me? That we think white ice get colder than black ice. And it don't, man. There's some fantastic black coaches out there that have been coaching, and I don't even want to get into the pros. Let's just say in college, that deserve the chance to be coach. Be these coaches, and they're being passed up on because these big donors don't want that. They want to see somebody leading the charge that look like them. What's wrong with us feeling the same way? That's all I'm saying.
Well, Coach, I'm going to agree with that and co-sign that. I think here's where it always, when you talk about HBCU sports compared, see, Power 5 people don't have to worry about this discussion. They don't have to worry about this. They hire their coaches, the nepotism is there. Look at the SEC. What, they've had 5 black coaches in their whole history, but the whole conference is black players. Outstanding black players built that conference. But then what happens to us is now we got to look at the finances. We got to look, because we're not even able to incubate coaches, right? Where we can build them up and they can move next step. See, that's another thing too, because of the finances. We can't even incubate that wide receiver coach and say, okay, I'm going to keep you here, but I'm going to pay you a living wage. So then when my next guy moves up, I'm going to move you to offensive coordinator. I'm going to pay you a living wage. And 2 or 3 years down the line, now you're ready to be the head coach.
Right.
Because again, finance always comes into play. And I see this all the time. Again, it happened to FAMU. We looked at Coach Simmons. And Coach Simmons is making, may not be a running backs coach. And you have people from FAMU scrambling and looking to raise money. Look at Coach Reed. Coach Reed is an outstanding coach, one of the best coaches in America. And you know what people are already saying? Oh, well, she's going to leave Jack State because they're going to pay her more money. Already.
Well, here's what supports me, Rocky. You'll get a kick out of this. And I've said it on this show before. In the last 20 years, every SWAC coach who won the championship is on the block. It's on the shelf. It's on the shelf. Well, they got Coach McNair over there at Southern and Dooley over it. But all of them. And what I'm saying is we don't grow ourselves. We don't give ourselves those offensive coordinator jobs and defensive coordinators jobs when we give them to other people. And then what they do, they leave. And then they never bring nobody with them. That's one thing I can say about Deion Sanders. When he left, he took some SWAC guys with him, which is what it's about. And we can't ever get there unless we take care of our own. I just, it's something about that. I just believe, and then, we talk about experience and all that. Coach, I met some guys, man, that a couple of my friends coach pro ball, where the linebacker coach never even coached college. He jumped straight from high school because he was a son-in-law of somebody's. You know what I'm saying? That's what they do.
Look at Bill Belichick's son. Does he deserve to be the position that he's in? Absolutely not.
No.
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 That is the biggest form of nepotism that you ever want to see.
Well,
So no,
well,
I get it.
I just
And
want to
see
read
what's
some
happening.
numbers off.
Go
I
ahead.
just want to read this off. 78.6% of chancellors and presidents, 78.6% of directors, athletic directors, 83% of faculty athletic representatives, 80% of conference commissioners were white. Let me read that again. 78.6, 78.6, 83.6, and 80.0 of conference commissioners were white.
And I want you to say, go back and say, who are they? The president, the
78.6% of chancellors and presidents are white.
Yeah.
78.6% of athletic directors are white. 83.6% of faculty athletic representatives are white, and 80% of conference commissioners were white in 2022.
That's sad. And let me see what I read that I sent to you guys.
And let me read a few other things because I think this is important too. I don't think one issue can be addressed without the other. 60.3% of chancellors and presidents are men, or white men. 67.9% of athletic directors are white men. 50% of faculty athletic representatives are white men, and 70% of conference commissioners are white men.
And
this is what I'll say about this. This is the one that kind of surprises me. That 50% of faculty athletic representatives are white men. That means that Hispanics, women, and blacks have to all divide the other half of that 50%.
That's right. That's right.
No, because you understand, they didn't say 50% of faculty and staff were men. They said 50% of faculty and staff were white men.
Right.
So that means women, Hispanic, Asians, females, blacks, we all have to divide the other 50% up amongst us. And we still wouldn't outnumber or even, be equal to, I guess we would be equal to the percentage of white men. But then how many of those positions are white men?
Here's the thing. I've always been told you can't know where you're going unless you know your history. We do a report card. I took one of this out of the article from Lipchick. He been doing this for so many years. We do a report card on all the major professional leagues and college sports. Has the worst report card. The report card is on racial discrimination on who's in place and who's running. He said, as somebody who has worked in an institution of higher education for 52 years, it's particularly disappointing to me that college sports has the worst record than everybody we cover. And we can get control of that if I don't know. I got an idea on how we could do it. We got to have the people in place to push this up to Washington, D.C. to say, if this don't change, we gonna mess with some of your money. Because black kids gonna continue to go to white schools, which, I would too. I mean, it's better facilities than everything else. What do we do? Look, Coach, are we getting anybody that's jumping in on this out there? I think it has to come down to just like they did the APR, just like they doing the NIL, just like they doing anything else to make things even. They can do that on the college level of making sure that more minorities are hired, especially at these big schools.
Hey, Coach, I want to take a minute to invite everyone who would like to call to go ahead and call. You can give us a call at 518-351-9464 if you have a comment on the topic that we're discussing now, or even you would like to comment on a previous topic that we were discussing leading up to this one. But
I'm doing a report now on HBCU non-revenue sports. What is the ratio between coaches, white coaches, and coaches of color on the revenue sport? Because I mean, how's it at Florida A&M?
So we have a white baseball coach. I don't know what our golf coach is, but I think that's the only coach that just comes to mind right now. That we've had one coach that's a Caucasian. That's our baseball coach. I think he came from Florida State.
Yeah. So I'm gonna do a little. I'm gonna pull up some stuff and I'm gonna see, because that point was brought to me that shit, man. You start looking at the number of non-revenue sports. Shit, they starting to take over them jobs. So how do we get them jobs? You know what I mean? How do we get passed over?
Well, let's look at this, guys, because this is the interesting point I want to bring up. Because this is let me get back to it, because it was quite interesting. Let me scroll down. Okay, here it is. And this is the quote from the article itself. It says, "It's hard to believe that in 2022, 51 years after the passage of Title IX, for example, that only 40% of women's teams across all three divisions are coached by women. 50% of assistant coaches of women's teams are women all of these years later." So what they're saying is the head coaches, only 40% of them women. And then when you talk about assistant coaches, only 50% of them are women.
Wow.
What do you guys think about that, Coach?
Wow. You know, man, it's tough on both areas, on women and on black people. Let me say that. It's tough on both. You know what I mean? I just feel in the past years that we've been pushed to the bottom. They've been focusing on transgender, gender, and women, minority women, and women, period. And then it's us at the bottom. And when I'm saying us, I'm just saying black people. Men, women, it don't matter. I mean, now that they got rid of affirmative action, like we bringing up some stuff like I guarantee you that it's some people that don't know these numbers, right? Some of us thinking and walking through, and I'm in the state of Arizona. So most of the blacks down here have grown up as minorities, but it's been acceptable, so they don't have to go through what we go through over in the South. In the South, there's big black communities, and then there's white communities. Out here in Arizona is a lot different. So my thing is what do you do? What do we do? How can we make that change besides giving people information? And I guarantee you the average person don't know that, Campbell. They don't know that. Albany State got a white coach. He came there and won, and then he left. They don't know that. Now we beginning to get white athletic directors. Who they gonna hire?
What I'll say, and this is just my opinion, and you got to understand that I'm outside the HBCU family, so my comments are just based on my.
Hey, Campbell, tell him to be careful.
Based on my perspective.
He's gotten in so much trouble. I'm just waiting. I get texts about him every time he gets on.
my point in this is this. I think personally, discrimination of any kind is wrong. Discrimination of any kind is wrong. So if you're talking about in the HBCU sphere, and white men and women want to offer up their talents and abilities inside of the HBCU ecosystem, right? And they are qualified, right, to hold whatever position, from president all the way down to janitor, and they're qualified, then they should be considered for that particular job, period. That's why I'll say they should not be discriminated against because of their color. Now, when you talk about a person getting a job or being hired for a job, there's many more considerations when you talk about when you're talking about, especially when you're talking about high level executive positions. There's fit, you know what I mean? There's competency. There's a lot of different things that you have to consider. But I don't think one of those things you should consider is the color over the fit. If the fit's not good, I understand. But if the fit is good, I think the color should not matter. The color
right,
should not matter.
Can I respond to that?
Yes, sir.
Can you please hold white people to that same standard you want to hold me to?
Absolutely.
So see, this is where the problem comes in at, Rocky. While that sounds great, and in a perfect world, but white people are never held to that standard that you want me as an HBCU to be held against. So what I will say, and this is what, Coach, I'm going to use women's college basketball, which is on the forefront, right? I want you to think about, I'm a big women's college basketball fan. And I'll think about Pat Summitt, who's a white woman, but I'm going to use her as an example. The majority of the great programs that she went against were coached by white men. She was the only female in the SEC at one time. Auburn, Joe Shampy, Andy Landers at Georgia, Van Chancellor at Ole Miss. All these people that had these great women's programs were coached by white men. Right. So now what you're finally starting to see black women to even get these opportunities, which are 30 years later, just now getting, and they're the ones playing the game. They all graduated college. They all know the game, and they're just now, you can look in the SEC right now. And look how many female black coaches that you got. So again, my point of it is, while you want me to hold up to that standard, is the people that are in the power structure, they never get held to that standard. Because I'm going to go back to this point again. People owe us $13 billion. Do you think if LSU, University of Texas, Texas A&M, University of Florida was owed $13 billion, they wouldn't get their money?
Hey, I'm laughing at Israel kid. She said, Rocky, you in a whole nother space.
So you can't. So again, we say this, but again, white people constantly do this. So again, I can show you nepotism and all these coaching hires in the SEC, the ACC, the Big Ten,
in the NFL, Coach.
In the NFL. So again, when you have a situation where you look at, again, the coaches that are qualified on the staff, they get passed over. They get passed over, on the actual staff.
I don't want to get into the NFL, man, but when I look at the NFL and I see some of them black coaches on the sideline, man, and they just then they hiring these young, here all back white guys as the coordinator, man, and all they've been on plate is Madden their whole damn life, or they caught some balls from Jerry Rice as a kid growing all the way up, and they moving right into that positions. Well, that just kills me. Well, sometimes when you get the opportunity, and when the opportunity in the production or the product meets, it's success. It ain't necessarily you. It's just that you in the right spot. You have all these guys that play professional football. Man, I mean, great, all pros, Hall of Famers. And I know everybody ain't a coach. We be the first one on here to say, because you played the game, don't make you a coach. But damn it, it's some guys out there that can coach football that deserve the head jobs and haven't even got them, haven't even got a chance. We barely can hire. Now, my man that used to be the coordinator at the Kansas City Chiefs left, went to another. Now he over at UCLA. Bienemy.
Yeah.
It's, you know what they, and I'm sad to say, and I'm gonna say it on my show because I can say it on my show. Bro, I'm beginning to think, man, what is wrong with this dude? They won't choose him as a head coach. Is something wrong with it? What's wrong to do? They got me thinking something wrong with this cat. But all your other white guys with their hair slicked back and they coordinating, they running the Madden offense. You know, they high flying. But Bienemy, how many Super Bowls he been in? 2, 3?
He been in 3, and
3
he
Super
won
Bowls?
2.
3 Super Bowls. He can't get a job. Something wrong.
Well, Coach, this is what I've always said, Coach, and this is just keeping it real. In my lifetime, my 54 years of living, the rules have always been different for Black men and women when it comes to obtaining jobs, not only in corporate America, but also in sports. The rules are different, right? And I look forward to a day, Mr. Campbell and Coach Cole, where the rules aren't different, where we can exist in the same spaces as white people and play by those exact same rules. And I don't think we get there by having a system that discriminates against white people, just like they have a system that discriminates against Black people.
Well, Rocky, let me ask you a question. Okay. So I'm going to use this again, and Coach is going to understand this. Coach, how many times, and you've coached on white staffs and Black staffs. How many times have you heard the white power structure say, I'm just comfortable with that guy? He reminds me of me. We don't look like him. We're not going, because let me see, if we're going to have this conversation, let's have a real conversation. My mother worked at HR for 40 years. I've hired people. I've been around people. And when I hear a white person say, I feel comfortable with somebody, you know what that means? He can tell jokes that he's not going to tell in front of me and you. He's going to say things because they feel comfortable. So they hire a Coach Cole. You know what they got to do? They got to act a little bit different. Because do not believe that is what they are when they're around Coach Cole. Because when they become closed doors, and we've seen this many times, they act a certain way, they talk a certain way. So again, Rocky, when you say that to me, then all I say back is this: then let them see me for who I am. They never see me for who I am. So if I'm a coach at Jackson State and the head coach, and I see a young brother that has talent, you know what? I'm going to incubate him and hire him. I'm at FAMU because they do the same thing all the time. And the only way for us to get coaches to be great, somebody has to take a chance on us. I'm just going to be honest with you. Every time is usually somebody that has taken a chance that sees something in us. Because like Coach said, you look at all these offensive coordinators. Now, you've had guys that have been in NFL that's Black that have had all the same accolades. But you know what? He just makes me feel, I see something in him. I've heard it a billion times. What do you see in him? You see yourself. That's what you see. And until we're honest about that conversation and know that makes a difference when you're sitting down across and interviewing, and also know your bias is there. Well, if I say something, I don't want Steve to be offended. Well, if you're so worried about that, you're not going to give me a chance anyway. So I'm telling you, that has a lot to do with a lot of this. So while, yes, I would want the FAMU to hire the best coach, of course, in the perfect world. But I'm going to tell you, if all things are even, then I want you to hire that Black coach, female or male, give them an opportunity to show what they're worth. And you will be shocked, as we see all the time, the ability that they have because they got the opportunity.
25 teams in the nation that gets notified. So what about the other 100 schools that have losing records? Let me say, I understand what Rocky is saying because he's he's not an HBCU guy. He didn't feel as he's a successful man as well. But the thing of it is I'm with him as far as saying I wish things were equal. But even the man says, I've been doing this for 52 years of studying this racial imbalance. And it ain't changed not one. It ain't changing fast enough. So So then what do you do? Do you keep on raising your dress up? Or do you say, man, this ain't working out? And I need to take care. We need to start taking care of our own. Because they not playing fair. They not opening the gate. They opening in the back gate, but they're not opening in the front gate. I'm tired of walking through the back gate.
Hey,
and if we have our own gate, why are we continuing to let them walk in? Let them walk in the back gate. I just feel that way.
I want to apologize to our last couple callers. We were having a technical difficulty. So caller, if you want to jump on, only thing you have to do is call back and I'll put you right on. But again, Coach Campbell, Mr. Campbell and Coach Cole, I know the history of this country very well. I know the deep-rooted history in a lot of different industries. I've been in IT for almost 30 years. I remember many days I was the only black guy and wanted and looked, searched high and low for qualified black men and women to occupy positions that were available in organizations that I was a part of. So I understand how important it is, how important diversity is. I understand how fleeting those opportunities can be sometimes when you have a systemic or cultural divide that openly discriminates against black people, right? This is what I'm saying on the HBCU side. I'm just talking about that. I don't know that it benefits the overall. And someone said, you said I'm wishing for utopia. No, I'm not wishing for utopia. I'm wishing for a level of fairness, right, that benefits black men and women, but also awards opportunities to qualify white men and women. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying when you get a guy whose application and he happens to be white, that you don't toss it in the trash, that you at least talk to the guy, you interview the guy and see if he fits in your organization. And vice versa. I'll say this. There's enough impressive black men and women as coaches and as executives that if they would just give those guys a shot to come in and interview and present themselves, then there would be a change in this. I don't know how much of a change would be because you still have to convince the decision maker to pull the trigger. But in my opinion, they're not looking at enough black men and women to fill these positions of ADs and directors because they often, what do they do, Mr. Campbell? They often recycle people who've had positions elsewhere into their positions. In my opinion, that's how they justify keeping it lily white, because they just keep hiring people who have experience doing the job.
That's what happens. But I want to get Coach Cole to pick. I want to talk about the coaches in the SWAC, right? So you got Coach T.C. Taylor, up and coming coach, looks like he's going to be a great coach. You got Coach Eddie Robinson at Alabama State. You got Coach McDowell. So here's the thing. What are we doing to augment and support them by fundraising, by support, where they can build out their staffs, where they can hire coaches and build them up? Because see, this is the thing about, if you got a great coach like T.C. Taylor, and I'm using people that have won games, because Coach Simmons is gone now. So I'm talking about coaches that have won games in the SWAC. What are we doing? Because if you got Coach T.C. Taylor, who's going to be leading Jackson, you know the best thing that can help him is we support him where he can have a staff that he can pay people to bring in other additional coaches, where he can pay a guy a great wage. Same thing at FAMU, same thing at Alabama State. We've got coaches that can train other coaches. But if we don't give them the money to hire competent coaches, then guess what? We're still back in this cycle. So that's another thing, too, that we got to do.
Let me ask you this. How come, I've been around the SWAC 40 years, right? How come not one SWAC coach lead and win a championship 2 or 3 years like W.C. Gordon? I don't know if Eddie, I heard Eddie had got a couple chances to go to the Rams, but never a big school. Pete Richardson, L.C. Cole, Rob Broadway, Jones, Anthony Jones. How come you win a SWAC, you don't get no other job? But if you win the Ohio Valley Conference, you jump to someone small A. Think about that question for a minute. Here's my thing, Rocky, and I agree with you totally. I mean, you're right. I mean, shit should be fair, but it ain't. We got poor people in America. They invented welfare. Okay, we had a problem about harm blacks. They invented affirmative action. Okay, we understand that this thing been going on for 52 years. I'm saying that they not, as long as we leave it in their hands, you know, in these athletic directors' hands, in these white men hands, it ain't gonna change. It ain't gonna change. It's got to go up the ladder. It's got to go up the ladder. And you know, at one time we asked where athletes should go to HBCU. Dang, we ain't gonna do that, coach. So it's got to be administrative. I remember, Rocky, we had the BCA, you know, and they named the top 20 black coaches. Man, them dudes, this was back in the 80s. Them dudes, they gave those dudes jobs, assistant jobs, Campbell somewhere. Man, I ain't hear from them dudes no more.
You ain't hear from anymore.
There ain't nothing changed. Now they got this other black organization. Man, they get them black dudes, them assistant jobs. Man, you don't hear about it no more. We selling ourselves out. It's just like, it ain't no different than slavery. You know, they got that guy out in the cotton field, and when he sees somebody about to run, he run and tell the house about them about to sneak out. We ain't strong enough to do it on our own. It's gotta go to Washington, I think. It's gotta be some type of accountability in NCAA from the NCAA. They put shit on everything else. They can put stuff on these hard practices, just like in the NFL. The Rooney Rule. Remember the Rooney Rule when they came out and said you gotta interview a black guy. That's what we need. We need that in NCAA.
So
if a coach win the SWAC, the national championship, the SWAC or something, he should be able to get an interview somewhere.
So would you agree with some type of mandate on the 10 official coaching positions, or 12? Is it 10 or 12, coach, on a D1 staff? It's 10, right?
Yeah, 10. It's 10 coaches on the staff.
Okay. If for the 10 coaches that are labeled to recruit, that are able to recruit off campus, if there was a mandate that at least 3 of those coaches, say 4 of those coaches, had to be either black or female, would you agree with that?
It's got to be more. It's always been 2. It's always been 2. It's one on offense and one on defense. 3, we ain't making no progress.
Well, coach, the reason why I say that is because by this report, now this is all 3 schools, this is all 3 divisions. It says only 47% in D1 football at the FBS level. 44.7% of student athletes were black or African American. 38.6% were white. So what's the other 40%?
Well, let me say this.
What's the other 20%, coach? Do you know a lot of Asian players or?
Yeah, certainly we ain't talking about revenue sports.
No. No. We're talking about in D1 football. Now, this is what's confusing. 44.
Well, no. Wait. See, don't understand what D1 football, that goes out to those schools out in the sticks where there's a whole bunch, you know what I'm saying? See, don't get it. So, because that's where the number gets skewed, because now you're adding schools that don't have a lot. So, like North Dakota
Idaho
or South Dakota.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But see, I tell you what, look at the number in the SEC. And then tell me what the percentage of black players are in the SEC. That is a dramatic skew difference to 70% like the NFL. Okay?
Yeah, no, I like what Syntech Sports TV said. What powerful system has ever changed voluntarily?
None.
Man, that's a good statement. They ain't gonna do it unless you make them. And I think in college sports, we can make a change. It's changed everything else, but we got to go to Washington with it. And we ain't going to Washington with it and start pulling back some of this federal money because, Rocky, like you said earlier, it's even worse in the lower division, like Division 2 or 3. And it ain't, it's worse there. You go, I coached down there. I coached in the KCAC, Campbell, up in Kansas, Division 2. Didn't nobody look like me.
Nobody.
Nobody looked like me down there. And my head coach happened to be a black guy. And nobody looked like us, coach. Not the AD, not the trainer, not the secretary, nobody. It is something we got to do that. We got to do it, man. That's the only way it's going to change.
So just like Title IX has participation
Boy,
mandates.
you're talking, Rodney. That's why I love you.
Just because Title IX has participation mandates that say that a certain percentage of your overall non-revenue athletic programs have to be comprised of women, right?
We need a title team.
You would be okay with a situation where if your team is 60% black, then 6 out of your 10 coaches should be represented by that ethnicity.
I wouldn't go that far. Damn what the players look like. I'm talking about economics. That we need to have some of those positions so we can
How
make
many,
some of that
Coach?
money they make.
How many positions?
Man, that's a good.
How many positions, Coach? How many positions, Mr. Campbell?
Well, see, this is where it comes back. See, because what I would say is, what's the true reflection? Look at the University of Alabama football team. They're literally their whole 22, other than 2 or 3 kids, are all black. Okay?
All of them
They're
on
2
defense
deep.
black.
So the whole defense is black. So can I have so I'm gonna play that game with you. Then why can't the whole defensive staff be black? See, they don't want to do that. Because if I'm representative to that point, and this is what coach is saying, you're never going to get the balance that's true there because we over-index. It's the same thing with basketball.
And and let me say that article that I sent to you guys today, it'll come out. Nothing happens. Nobody makes no stir. No black folks, no black people that's in power positions because we're so happy. Because even the athletic directors don't look like us.
So how about
we got
this?
all these black athletic directors in the SWAC. Name an athletic director, a black athletic director from the SWAC has took over some Division 1A job. Do y'all know any? I don't know none. And so how is an athletic director in the HBCU, you can turn around and hire a black coach, or turn around and let a head coach hire all white staff? How can you sit there and let that happen and feel good about it?
Well, I can say this. I believe the chairman of the NCAA tournament is from the SWAC.
For the basketball tournament.
Oh, come on. You talking about Charles McCullum?
Yes.
Yeah, he is. What's that been 2 years in a row, ain't it?
Yeah, I think they have do run a 2 or 3 year.
He was there last year. Yeah, he was there last year. Yeah. Which is good. Look. I'm all for it.
Well, let me say this. How about this? I'm just going off the dome here, so correct me if I'm wrong. So my deal would be something like this. If I had to do it, I would incentivize schools this way. You could have 10 coaches, mandate at least 2 of those coaches be minorities, right? However, you could have 12 coaches if you hired 2 additional coaches for an allotment of 12. That way you could have 4 minority coaches. You understand what I'm saying? If it makes sense, you could have 10 coaches.
I knowing the business, Rocky, and been around in the business for now 50 years, almost 50 years. It's got to be 4. It's been 2 for the longest.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like you go from You go from 10 coaches.
Hey, look, I don't care if they can only hire 6. Make 4 of them black.
Well, Rocky, here's the thing.
You know what I mean?
Well, let's talk about it. So now what you're saying, and what the argument why it won't work legally is you're talking about a quota.
Yes.
And unfortunately, that's going to be struck down. That's never going to be ever enacted because we're already fighting.
Title IX is a quota.
No, what Title IX is no, it's not a quota. Title IX is saying, look, you didn't have any, and women are just equal to men. So whatever you give the men, you got to give the women. That's really basically what Title IX says.
Right.
You got to give the same amount to the women that you give the men.
But some people, the same opportunities.
Same opportunity.
In non-revenue sports.
Well, if basketball is a revenue sport for women, if you want to call it a revenue sport,
no,
but you got to say that they don't have football, so they have to add those sports because they don't have football.
So what I'm saying is basketball and football don't count. Men's basketball, men's football don't count. Let's set them aside.
Yes, it does.
Not for Title IX.
In Title IX.
No. For Title IX, it's only
the reason why is because then you gotta put in more women's sports to balance it out.
Exactly.
Football is so large that now we gotta make, because say some schools you got more women's sports than men because if they got football. So it's Title IX is making sure that women have the same opportunities as men. If that makes sense. Does that make sense? I mean, that makes sense.
But I thought there was an exclusion for men's basketball.
No. That's why you see it where they have to add a women's soccer team to balance it out. No, as a matter of fact, I'm going to read this real quick, because I don't want people to misunderstand this. If the school offers athletic participation opportunities, the number of individual athlete participation slots, not number of teams, proportional to the number of males and females in the general student body, the school must meet the participation standard.
Right.
That's what that means.
Right. So all of it counts, Rob. Of course, football is big. Then it's track.
So
and under Title IX, no sport exclusion or exception. So football is included under the law.
Right.
Individual participation opportunities, numbers of athletes participate around the number of sports, and all men's sports and women's sports are counted to determine whether the school meets the Title IX participation standard.
So the 11.7 is for all non-revenue sports. The 11.7 scholarship.
Yeah.
That's for all. That's for even if it's baseball, even if it's rowing, even if it's whatever. Those teams only get 11.7 scholarships. That's what I'm talking about.
Here's what some people go wrong at, especially these women's sports, thinking that they should be getting paid as much as men. It never said about the money. It never said about being paid. It's about the opportunities, because as you know, there's more people that come watch men's sports than women's sports. So sometimes people get off course with Title IX on that case, and they don't win those cases. They go to court. Oh, well, he made $250,000, and you only paying me $150,000. Well, he got 20,000 fans, and you got 1,000. So it's about the product. It ain't about whether it's a woman or a man. Doing the coaching. So,
as a courtesy, in the description of this particular live, there's 2 links to 2 reports about diversity and equity and inclusion related to college athletics. I suggest both of you, anybody who's interested in reading those stats, go down in the description and click those links. All the numbers we're referencing are in those links.
I'm sorry. And you guys, we sitting here talking about Title IX and this destruction and all that. And they've done stuff for all that, except they've not done anything for college athletics to put people of color, especially black men, in these roles, giving us these opportunities. They've done this and that in women's sports and Title IX. That ain't ever been an issue. The issue has been why, on its face, why do you guys have a problem with hiring black men?
So
period. Like you say, let's just tell the truth about it. Why do you guys have problems hiring black men? The problem is some black men have problems hiring black men. We don't look out for each other. We don't. And it ain't, and this ain't a them against us. This is a systematic issue that need to be recognized, and make sure that black men make sure that, look, guys, if they're hiring people that look like them, don't feel bad about hiring people that look like you.
You know what? You know what the crazy thing about this? We're talking about Title IX being the law of the land in 1972, right?
Right.
And I don't know what documentary I was watching, but some team in the SEC didn't integrate until the mid-70s. And I'm trying to think of what school
Is that
that
football? That football? You know who put the first black guy on the team? SMU.
No, I'm talking in the SEC. This the documentary I was talking about was
opposite. SMU was the last major college to put a black guy on the team. And Alabama was the first major. No, let me take that back.
No, Kentucky and Tennessee had
US
black players before the Alabama.
Right.
Alabama didn't have a black player until 70, 71.
Right. USC and Paul Bear Bryant called my man out of USC and put together a game because Alabama was the last school in the SEC to get a black player. And when they played USC, Sam Bam Cunningham, I think he scored 4 touchdowns that night. And Bear Bryant smiled and told his alumni that we got to change. If I had some of those, this was his quote, if I had some of those, we would run through the conference. And that's what changed Alabama in the
So in this documentary, I believe Alabama had black players going back to the 50s, but they never played.
No,
Alabama.
they couldn't even get to school, Rocky.
Okay.
You gotta listen. You gotta understand something. SEC schools until James Merritt and people like that didn't even get into the school until 63.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So there was no black person there, period. In the SEC at school at all.
Period. None. Zero.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's not. I gotta stand on that because I don't want people to. We're not gonna change history. Okay, and we're not gonna change, and we're not gonna gloss over the SEC history.
I don't want us to get blinded with all this media and the cell phone and all this thing happening, and our young kids think that we've made it and we to the top. The 70s ain't too far away.
Absolutely. I was born in the 70s.
Wow. Okay.
So what I'm looking at is this says a guy named John Mitchell, and maybe he was born in 1951. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
Was the first black player in Alabama. But again, what I want to say is that this was integration going well into the mid 70s, right? Teams were still being integrated, and Title IX, they instituted a law that you could not discriminate any longer based on sex. They didn't make the same exclusion for race.
Well, wait a minute. So no. You gotta understand something. See, now we're gonna have to do history. See, this is what happens when so Rocky, you gotta understand. So I don't want to get too far in this. This for all my young folks. Good. You need the Civil Rights Act, 1964. You need to Google that. That prevented discrimination. Okay, that happened in 64. So the vote right was 65. So the Civil Rights Act was in 1964. That outlawed all over the United States racial discrimination in 1964. Okay. Now, with that being said, the Southern schools still, but that's why you had James Meredith and people over in Alabama, and then the person at LSU, and those people when they had to have the National Guard to force them to go to school, okay, and stuff like that. So that's where that progression comes from.
Because
football did not get integrated until the late 60s, early 70s. And I'm not talking about 20, 30 players. I'm talking about like 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Okay? Be clear on that.
Yeah. And you know, the what they called it, not the Divine Nine, but the kids that was going to Central High School in Arkansas.
Yeah, Little Rock. Yeah.
Yeah, in Little Rock, Arkansas. Yeah. So I mean, it ain't been that far off. I'm just, we got to do something, man. You know, because this ain't even really about my kids. This is about my kids' kids or your kids' kids, right? These guys are making $4 and $5 and $6 and $1 million as assistant coach. Do you know what you could do with $1 million or $500,000 in 2 years as assistant coach? And we down at the HBCU still making 40 and 30 and sleeping under your desk and all that kind of stuff.
But coach, if they don't want to fund you,
turn out a national championship, and the best job that your head coach can get is a running back coaching job.
But coach, this goes back.
Huh?
But this goes back to the initial discussion that we've had, and it goes back to these legislatures not properly funding these schools. We know we're owed billions of dollars that have been stolen. Not you didn't have to give it to me. First of all, this is not stuff that was allocated. This was legally money that you stole from us. Stolen. Facts. And they sent a letter saying, hey, can you just give those black folks their money back? And they still looking at us and laughing. Like, no, we're not gonna give them their money. Even though legally they stole it, it's not even in the dispute. So what do we do when again somebody has stolen $1 billion from Southern, $2 billion from FAMU, $2 billion from North Carolina A&T? You give those people that money, you can have all the coaches you want. You can have all the facilities that you want. That is a lot of money. So again, when we sit back here and not understand the politics that affects our sports, because see, the politics doesn't affect the sports in the ACC, Big 10, Big 12. Politics doesn't affect their sports. They pass laws to help their sports.
Let me say this too, and I got to get on our black people, Rocky. In the 60s, our black schools, when they did play white schools, they beat the hell out of them. But what happened was, what black people did was not jump on board with athletics. Athletics has been the bicycle for black people since 1936 when Jesse Owens won the damn 1936 Olympics. And when he came back home, he still had to go in the back door to a place that was giving him an award. We didn't jump on board. White folks seen it and discovered it and started saying, well, damn, this is the way. What we've been doing and I was born in the 60s, in the 70s, we always told each other, don't be a dumb jock. Be smart. Education is the way to go. And that's true. But administration is also the way to go. And we did not deal up.
All right, I'm gonna have you on in a little bit. All right. Yeah, I hear you.
Like in Texas.
Do I need to shut anything off when I
Are we ready? Are y'all hearing me?
If you're listening to us in the background, yeah.
Oh, Rocky, we can hear you. Rocky, we can hear you.
Y'all can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but Rocky's talking to a caller, sounds like, coach.
The Orange Blossom City Classic sold out. The Space City Classic, Grambling and Southern sold out. Alabama State, Alabama A&M, Magic City got sold out. This was 30 years ago. Sellouts, big money, making money. We never had a financial or administrative way to put the money back into the athletic program and ride it out. We as black folks wanted to sell it out. Oh, we're smart. We're intelligent. So we downplayed athletics. Do you know that even today, we still hadn't took the handlebars of athletics and took money to put over there, put in the athletics to build big stadiums, or nice stadiums for our people. To hire, we still ain't done it. And of course, like you said earlier, we short $2 billion. We ain't fought for it. So yeah, If you let somebody mistreat you, they gonna mistreat you. And we've mistreated ourselves, and we missed a bright opportunity in the 70s and the early 80s to start putting money into athletics. And we didn't do it, and they did it. And now we behind the 8 ball.
Hey, Stephen, Coach Cole, we have a caller on the line. Caller, give us your name and where you're calling from. What do you have for? Go ahead.
I got something for all three of y'all, especially Coach. My name is Johnnie, and I'm from North Carolina Central. I love listening to you guys talk. And a lot of times I call in a clown and cut up like everybody else. But what y'all were talking to tonight, man, it really hurts me because I spent 30-something years in law enforcement. And I know exactly what y'all talking about the same discrimination. I didn't realize coaches had it so bad until I started paying attention this year. And Coach Cole, what I want to say is the model has been set before. We got to play the same play again. We got to economically boycott. And what I mean by that, and then we got to vote, register to vote, register to vote, and vote some more until we can get some politicians in place that can put some new laws on the book, because the current Republicans and Trumpism has gutted affirmative action, the bills, the laws that would take care of us. And we got to start anew with voting, and we got to start a different way of protesting. And the way we protest is we start a culture of kids and adults. We don't buy NFL paraphernalia. We don't buy any paraphernalia unless it's sanctioned by our respective HBCUs. And we approach some of these big name ball players like Barkley, who's always been outspoken, but who's really on a tear, and ask them to say, hey man, speak up for us. Take your endowment money out of Auburn and say, hey, listen, if you don't do better, I'm just going to divide it up into HBCUs. And we start getting professional athletes to do the same thing. And again, we financially boycott all the way from the top down. We try to do all we can to educate kids to come to HBCUs, like I say. And then on the HBCU campuses, we got to cut this stuff out of mooching, people trying to get in the games free, people not paying alumni dues. We got to change the whole model around. And I really appreciate y'all. I hate to be long-winded, but I know how painful this is, man, because I'm sitting here right now. I got hired because of affirmative action, but I was the best. Well, let's put it this way. Affirmative action said go out and get the best you could. I was one of the best in the criminal justice field. And discrimination is the same type of discrimination from the time I walked in the door right now. We're sitting up right now, me and a few other guys waiting on the judge to pay us. I think I'm due $130,000. Some other guys will do as much as $250 from promotion discrimination. But you all got to keep pounding at it that way, and we got to again, man. And I hate we got to vote. We got to vote, and because we can't change anything until we get the political might. Because you go to Washington right now, you know, your senators are just going to say, "Hey, man, I feel for you," but we just don't have enough. We don't have enough people that's sensitive to diversity and whatnot to put laws on the books. So for that, you know, I enjoy you all. I'm going to be praying for all the coaches because I know how painful this is, man. This is painful for me to just sit here and listen to you all talk about it. But I've been down that road from 1985 to the time 84 to the time I left my job as a federal agent for the federal government. I know exactly what y'all talk about. So thank you and keep pushing.
All right. Thank you for your call, caller. Appreciate it.
Rocky, let me say something about that caller. And this is what we're talking about. And this caller understands that law enforcement was one of the hardest things to penetrate as Black people. And while he said he got hired because of affirmative action, he got hired because he was qualified. And what happened before, they would not hire him. So they had to put in affirmative action. So a person that was qualified like him, they're probably scored higher than anybody on the test. had better grades than anybody else, and then still, as we know, got underpaid for 30 plus years. 30 plus years, which I can show you over and over again. So his story is a story that I have seen in any job that you want to see. So the fact that he understands that, because you think about it, he went to college. They tell you go to school, do what you're supposed to do, get good grades. He goes. He went to Central, great school, created by a civil rights activist in 1910. He goes and gets a job, and you know what they do? Because the color of his skin, they underpay him. While his counterpart is getting 2 times, 3 times more. Not counting the promotion that he probably did not get, which would have even more money. So this is the reason why these conversations resonate with people. And for people that, like I said, grew up with those people in the civil rights movement, things like that, I understand it. I understand his pain, but I'm proud of the fact that he said, hey, listen, I still did this, still achieved. And that's why I think we have to understand, to his point, we push stuff away. But it requires, to what Coach is saying, sometimes people got to make the hard choices. And we just refuse to make the sacrifice now. Because there was sacrifice in the 50s and 60s. I don't think people really understand the sacrifice of my mother who had to go to the bathroom on the side of the road. If I tell you all to do that now, you look at it like I'm crazy. They fought for that, so you don't have to do that anymore. So these are things that we have to sit back and understand, that if we want equal access, we want equal rights, we're all going to have to come to the point and say we're going to have to sacrifice something. And that's where it comes in at.
Well, the thing is, we got to read and we got to be educated on what's going on. Do you understand that $45,000, $50,000 is the average salary of a Black family compared to $74,000, $75,000 of a white family? And we don't want to get into all that and all athletics and get out of our realm of what we're talking about. But we don't even understand that, Coach. We don't even understand the big disparity in that. All we see is what's on social media. But I get tired of watching on Sundays and on Saturdays, and I'm looking at the sideline, and I'm looking at the football field, and I'm seeing all these great players making plays that look like me. And I look on the sideline, and all the ones who's running the strings on them plays look like the other guy. I'm not mad at them, though, Rocky. Kevin, I'm not mad at them. I'm mad at us. Us. You know what I'm saying? It's about us.
Hey, we got a caller, guy. We got a caller. Caller, what's your name and where you calling from?
Hey, this is Roy Gillis from Waco, Texas.
Hey, man, this is guys, y'all. Hey, this is Roy here. This is not only my good friend, but this is also my business partner in 254 Podcast Studios, and also Magic 94.5. So go ahead, Roy.
Hey, man, y'all hitting on a very good and insightful conversation, and definitely
and PV grad. So hold on.
Yeah. Well, I didn't like to hear that. I don't like to hear that.
So you know what that means, Mr. Campbell.
I don't have a sports insight that you guys have, even though I do own Syntex Sports Network here in Waco, but I do understand business. So in this whole athletic thing that we're talking about, this is the only field where we own we are the cash crop. I saw something today that 2% of Florida's student body was African American, but 77% of all of their athletics is Black. So the last caller talked about economic boycott. That's the only way this is going to change. I don't have the faith in our elected politicians, but I know this: if you can move the needle economically, a small amount, you get people's attention. So I put in the quote in the comments, what do you guys think about the boycott that NAACP is calling for in Florida? I don't know how effective it would be, but I've been waiting for years for somebody to say, hey, let's just stop going to those schools. I'm talking about and push that from the top down. Let's stop going there. If you don't want to go to a HBCU, go to USC, go somewhere else. But these southern schools, to break this block that we got down here in the South, Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, man, stop going. And if that movement can start, like I said, I don't understand a lot about athletics like you guys do. You guys are the subject matter experts, but I know this: we holding the guns. We're the ones with the power, really, because it's our boys that's out there making the difference. We are the ones that they want. Nick Saban is not. He ain't Nick Saban without them 4 and 5 stars that's coming out the South. He ain't. Nick Saban is not this great. He's not that great, that better of a coach than some of these other coaches. I don't believe that, because without the talent, and I heard him say this. He said early on in his career, he learned that he wasn't very good at making mediocre players play great. So he needed to go out and get great players. So I just wanted to hear what you guys thought about that. And is that something that's even viable? Are we even ready to start saying that verbally, not just in the barbershop, but I'm talking about celebrities saying this? Stop going. Stop going there. How much can we move the needle? Can we chip off 5 players? Can we chip off 10 players? Because I guarantee you it will get some attention. And I'll hang up and hear what you guys have to say about it.
Hey, thank you for calling, Roy. And again, that's Roy Gillis, my business partner and PV grad. So y'all know what that means. If you don't know, you just have to read something, and they'll tell you.
Deion had made a big spiel in HBCU, and I understand some of the people got upset. So what did they do? They went and got our cash cow and paid him that money. I think it ain't like what it used to be. All this social media, and they got our young kids looking at this social media, and you looking at one kid out of it's 8 billion people in the United States. And our young kids don't understand that what you're looking at is that 1%. This flashing this money and I'm successful doing this. But then I'm giving you some hard facts from the Century report that the average salary of a Black family is about $45,000 to $52,000. That ain't no money. It's a whole bunch of people that look like us that got great talent, but it's not being used or not getting these opportunities because of the color of our skin. And then once again, it ain't them, it's us. We got to do something. We got to take the ball by the head. Take the ball, and we got to move the ball, whatever that is. I think that it's got to be some politics involved in this. It's got to be about voting, as the guy was saying earlier. It's got to be people looking at our circumstances and understanding that it's just a big disparity, man. How can in college sports that we are the majority of the product in these major sports? We are the majority of the product, but we're not reaching our goals as, we are the product, we are the people, but we're not reaching our goal as the profit. We're not making a profit off of that. That's what I just want to say.
All right, I want to make 2 points, and Coach alluded to it. But Deion Sanders could have been the most dangerous man in America at Jackson State.
Yes.
Because what Deion had done at Jackson State was literally the perfect vessel. And what I mean by that, because of its history, its pedigree, the 50,000 Black people in the stands that could get to 60,000 people, the education that you would have got. And the thing about it was with Willie Simmons also in Florida and the ability to recruit those players. Those were the two. If they would have kept those coaches there. Now let's think about this for a second. If Deion stays at Jackson State, Shadur Sanders would be a senior. How many top players do you think would be on Jackson State's roster right now? It would have been ridiculous. It would have been ridiculous. Along with the visibility of 60,000 Black people that would rival anything Ole Miss or Mississippi State could do. Now you look at Willie Simmons. He stays at FAMU, and let's just say it goes back and forth, just for the sake of this argument. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds. FAMU wins something. All these kids from Florida State, well, hey, you know what? We can come over here to FAMU because Jackson State got all these Power 5 type players, and we got Power 5 type players. Guess who they're going to show on TV, Rocky? Guess who people want to see? Because now you're seeing the true talent of what is. And that's what they didn't want to see. Now, I'm going to make my second point. Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, you know what he said? Oh, this NCAA tournament, y'all let too many of these little schools in. That's hurting me, because when we have these big super conferences, we probably going to have to, these little schools, we need to put them in the first four. Because he knows if these schools start making a run, start winning games, all of a sudden they come with Gonzaga. They don't want that to happen because that amount of money has built Gonzaga, just winning tournament games. So you know what he says? No. We really need to look at this. So once again, they see when you start moving, they start changing the rules. When they see you start moving, hey, Dion, Jackson State is not big enough for you. You need to come on over here to the Power 5 because this is where you really need to be at. These are the things that they program us and tell us, and then we fall for. Well, yeah, he got to go up there and play the Division I and play that. He had Division I, the most talented players in Colorado with Jackson State players.
Here's where I come in at. You are correct. Here's where I come in at. You gotta treat these head coaches right. How come Dion couldn't get the $500,000 or the $600,000 from Jackson State instead of the president? How come Simmons wasn't offered the $400,000 or $500,000? Because he is the face of the university. We don't get that as Black folks. We start picking fingers and pulling apart and tearing apart the guy instead of saying, and I told y'all before, I said, well, then why they didn't offer Simmons $400,000 in a 10-year contract? Or at least present these opportunities. Why come they didn't tell Dion, all right, look, we're going to give you $600,000. We're going to give you the percentage of the gate. Man, we love you here. We're going to give you a 10-year contract. Why we don't do that? Why we don't offer, let respect and let him understand that we care about you and your. Why we don't, as a school, Dion, we're going to buy you a house. Coach Simmons, we're going to get you a house. We're going to get you a car deal. That's what they do. They go all out because the what do I want to say? The opportunity, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, is the reward is bigger than the risk. Do you see what I'm saying? The reward is bigger than the risk. When you get a diamond in the rough, man, you gotta clean him up, Rocky. You and take him to the top.
Well,
if not, what we've been doing the last 40 years is start over and over and over again. We never do what we're supposed to.
What you're gonna ask people to do with this situation is for, let's use Travis Hunter for an example, or guys like Travis Hunter, to forego the opportunities that are offered to them at prestigious Power 5 universities and select the culture and history over anything that they could be offered by a Power 5 school. That's what you're asking a kid to do. How many kids are there? How many, let's not say kids, how many families are willing to do that in this climate? How many, I saw Travis Hunter as a very rare circumstance and situation. And there were other 4-star kids that ended up going to Jackson State as well. But when you ask people to make those kind of sacrifices, long term, how does it benefit the overall culture of Black men? And that's what I want you guys to say. If people who are blessed enough to have a 1% child that is able to perform at a very high level at a prestigious university, to forgo that opportunity to commoditize that talent, right? And do what is in the best interest of the culture, what do those people get in return for their sacrifice? That's what I'll ask.
Okay, let me answer that, Coach. Now, let me, because this is
Now
going to be
I'm
my
gonna piggyback
historian
off
part.
of that. Go ahead.
Here's the thing. That is always the question. But I'm going to go back to history. The Montgomery, we're going to Montgomery, right? The Montgomery bus boycott. People can say, well, hey, man, we need to sit in the back of this bus because it's easier for me to ride this bus than to walk 4 or 5 miles or 10 miles to work. Because that was the argument that they said, oh, no. It was certain people that said, I do not have the ability to do this. So I would rather get treated as a second-class citizen than sacrifice. See, this is what Coach is talking about. See, Rocky, in life, this is what it comes down to. Anytime in history, somebody is going to have to sacrifice. Those people sacrificed so me and you could be on the screen right now. If they didn't do that, because they could have made the same argument you're making right now. They could have made that argument, right? They could have said, oh, no, we're not going to sacrifice right now. But they understood for the good of the whole that we are going to sacrifice. Blood, sweat, people died, okay? People died. This was not a joke. People put their life on the line so we can be on it. Rocky, me and you were born in 1970. And I tell people this all the time. We were the first children born in integration. Think about that. So integration has been around for 54 years. Okay? It was people, your parents, my grandparents, that sacrificed the fact for us to even do this. So me, I look at it totally different. Because if they didn't make that sacrifice, where would we be at right now? So it's always the easy choice that people can make. But it's the hard choice that makes your life easier. So yes, with Travis Hunter, because then the question is, I saw, and Blue is on there, great thing. But here's what my argument would be. So Travis Hunter, so I'm going to say this again, and I'm going to make this argument. You're going to tell me Travis Hunter can't get drafted in the first round? And if he went this way, Jerry Rice is the greatest player of all time for some people. Walter Payton is one of the greatest players of all time. Steve McNair was the third pick in the draft. Travis Hunter's not going third in the draft. That I can guarantee. So don't tell me that Travis Hunter can't be drafted third if Steve McNair can. If Walter Payton can. If Jerry Rice can. I can go on and on and on. So that argument to me rings hollow when I've seen it happen. It would be different if it never happened. But if Steve McNair can get drafted in third, right? So you can't tell me it didn't happen. Jerry Rice is the GOAT at Mississippi Valley. Can't say that didn't prepare him. So these are the arguments that the white power structure makes. Hey, you got to come to Colorado because we got the bigger. You know what? You're down there in Texas, right? You do realize University of Texas, maybe about 3 years ago, did not have one player drafted. So what did that $400 million weight room do for them a couple of years ago? Nothing. So do not tell me that it requires a weight room and this to be great. We've been great without less. So again, I know, and again, it's hard to put that on a kid. But let me tell you something, do you understand how old John Lewis was with SNCC? He was the same age as Travis Hunter when he got his head knocked. So don't tell me Travis Hunter, the people from my A&T people that sat at that lunch counter, they were students at North Carolina A&T. These were not grown men at 50 years old. These were students. They sacrificed.
But let me say this, Mr. Campbell, and I'm not arguing against you or whatever, but there were clear oppressive circumstances that were happening to everyone in the community, right?
It's still oppressive.
Huh?
Isn't that still oppressive?
What is that?
Are we still not being oppressed?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure
that. No. But the only point I'm making is some would say to sacrifice for a coach who makes $90,000 now for a kid to make a sacrifice for that coach so that he can now make $400,000 and continue to take care of his white wife. How does that? What good does that do to the culture?
It's the same argument, right? That's why I gave you the same argument about just as a simple. Why am I going to not sit on the back of this bus when I get on this bus? Y'all tripping. And you're going to tell me I got to walk 10 miles in the rain, in the heat. Why am I doing this? It's the same argument that we have to face this argument every time. Sooner or later, we have to understand, and I'm just making a Coach Cole argument, right? So yes, people don't want to sacrifice, but that's the greatness about that generation. They actually sacrificed. They did it.
Absolutely.
And from the oldest to the youngest. You understand something? My mother let them out of school. You know what grade my mother was in? She was in the 4th grade. The 4th grade. And they marched. They let all the children out of school. You look at, man, you've seen it right down in Montgomery. They spraying the water hoses in Birmingham. Those are kids.
One thing that our mother and father's generation clearly understood, they accepted the fate that they may not be able to receive the benefits for which they are fighting for, but they made darn well sure that we would not have to live in the same world that they grew up in. And that's what I certainly appreciate, the sacrifice that they made. And they're going to take a generation of men and young women to have that same attitude, that they may have to forego a benefit. They may have to forego an opportunity. They may have to sacrifice so that young boys and young girls won't exist in a world where 75% of the players in the SEC are black and only 20% of the coaches are black.
Again, I understand this argument, but I hear it and it rings on deaf ear. But all I'm saying is, if that's the case, we could play, because if with Travis Hunter, I'm just going to use Travis because he's not related to Deion. I know he looks Deion apart. If Travis Hunter is going to say that, he could say, shit, I could go to Alabama and have a better shot being a higher draft pick. I mean, if he wants to play this game, or Georgia, where more likely would he be a higher draft pick? Going to Alabama, Georgia, or going to Colorado?
He chose Deion.
Exactly. So again, when we play this game, so that does not mean that Travis Hunter or any of these kids could not be a first-round pick at HBCU, because we have produced first-round picks at HBCU. That's my point. So you cannot make that argument to me with less resources, with less facilities, because your ability is your ability. See, this is the thing, once again, we get sold this all the time. This is the same argument that the SEC coaches are, you come over here, we got all this and all this stuff. And then the kids go, and then they're like, oh, wow. You got those kids, again, that went from their Power 5, came to Jack State, and they were like, this is really nice. Because it wasn't the weight room, it was everything else we offered. And I say we as an HBCU collective. You get some, bro, you gotta understand something. There ain't no black people in Colorado. None. I don't care what nobody say. That is not a happy place. Because you're not getting any diversity of thought. Anybody that went to an HBCU, you think about your freshman dorm and the people that you met from all over the country. Coach Cole, you know this. You sat in that dorm and just traded ideas and thoughts because you were from a different part of the country. Somebody was poor, somebody was rich, somebody was in the middle. All of that made me who I am right now. Travis Hunter is not going to get that at Colorado. So I get it, he's up there to play football, but I'm gonna tell you a secret, going to school is a little bit more than playing football also. So this is where we have to stop this and understand. And I get it, like I say, it's always hard when you say you the one got to sacrifice. Nobody really wants to do that when it's you. So that's the only reason why I kind of get a sense when I hear this, well, he had to go there. No, he did not have to go there to do what? Because the University of Texas had all that and they didn't get a draft pick. So there's no guarantee you go somewhere, you're going to get drafted. Unless you over there, Alabama and Georgia. If that's the case, everybody should go to Alabama and Georgia and Ohio State. That's just my argument on that.
Hey, Coach, we went well past our time, Coach Cole. I'm going to make sure we can get out of here, man. And we wanted to make that announcement. Wanted to remind everybody our big announcement was we will be at the Alabama State spring game on April the 6th. Checking out Coach Eddie Robinson's Hornets, Alabama State Hornets, and getting out the first glimpse of Andrew Body in action. So, Coach Cole, we about to get out of here, man. I'm going to let you take us out, bro. All right, looks like we may be froze.
They go freeze.
Yeah, it looks like we may be froze. But hey, I just want to say this, man. If you find yourself in a situation, let me see what Coach Cole always says. Let me see if I got it right. Grab a rope, tie a knot, hold on tight, because ain't nobody bad like you.
There it is.
If I can get this thing refreshed because I may be the one that's.
Yeah, you're frozen too. I'm the only one that's not frozen.
All right, Coach. Let me see if we can.
There you go.
Have I caught up yet? I don't know what's look like my whole situation done locked up over here. Hold on, let
Mute
me.
it. Yo, mute. Hello? Can y'all
Yeah,
hear
we
me?
hear you now, Coach.
Man, you said something there, Campbell. You went deep. I wanted to piggyback, but you went deep. You know, about only 1% gonna get drafted. Ain't nothing guaranteed that you're gonna get drafted or wherever you go.
Yeah,
If you're a
Coach.
player, they gonna find
They're going to find you, Coach. And that's been our mantra for all the HBC. And that's why I'm saying why, again, when you look at the greatness of our players, that's why that argument, and again, I understand that, and everybody likes the Bills. I'm just not going to ever fall. I don't come from that. I'm very proud of where I come from. I'm very proud of all the SWAC schools and MEAC schools and all the other HBCUs. And I know we produce greatness. So, you know, that's all of my argument. And I just have heard that argument too many times that's the only route for you to get there. Well, that's because they tell you that's the only route. That's the argument that they make. They tell you that. Why do they tell you that? Because they don't want you to be over there. They don't want you to be there. And there's no disrespect. No disrespect to all these schools and stuff like that. And for the players, I have friends, their sons and daughters play these Power Fives. I'm happy for that opportunity. But don't tell me that you can't get the opportunity if, to your point, we all come together. Because we create the opportunity, we all come together.
See, here's the other thing I understand. The SWAC got more Hall of Famers, Coach, than most of the Division 1A schools. We in the top 5 of Hall of Famers.
I always have this argument. I went to a Catholic school in Jackson, and they would talk. And I said, you all from Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and Southern Mississippi don't even together have as many Hall of Famers as Jackson State. Together of one school.
Right.
The big three. So you can't tell me the quality of the program. The 5 best players that ever came out the state or played in the state of Mississippi came from HBCUs.
Yes.
2 of them are at GOAT status. Think about that.
Right.
Jared Rice and Walter Payton are in the realm of the greatest players ever
played.
That position. There is not one player from Ole Miss you can say that about. There's not one player from Mississippi State you can say that about. And Brett Favre barely is knocking on that door. Barely.
Yeah. And he just lost all his credibility stealing from the poor people.
So exactly. So again, you know, so I understand that as they say, oh, Mr. Campbell, back in the day, you know, things have changed. You got to go to LSU. You got to go to Alabama. Well, yeah, I get it because they programmed you to tell you that. That's what they program you to tell you that. So again, you know, so Coach, you know, I appreciate you allowing me, you know, the politics thing is my thing. Black history is my thing. Civil rights are my thing. And I appreciate allowing us to have this conversation and let people know, because I think we have a diverse audience of old and young. And I just, like I said, as they say, for the young people, I want you to really understand your greatness and understand that people your age sacrifice so you can be doing all that foolishness that you're doing on TikTok and Instagram and stuff like that. People, just college students that are younger than you now, were the ones that sacrifice. So don't tell me that you can't sacrifice. You better go learn your history. Well, I can't hear you, Coach. I still can't hear you. Right there, I can mute you too. Yeah, Coach, I lost you. Yeah, I can't hear you. Well, I think I'll tell you what, Coach, I'll just close this all out. I want to thank everybody for coming to Coach's Corner. Coach, we'll be back tomorrow, right? With the GAC Commissioner, Kiki Barnes. And we'll see everybody 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern. So everybody, you all have a good night.